In the time before skyscrapers pierced the clouds and highways cut through the forests, there was a village called Ile Oke. Life there moved with the rhythm of the sun and the seasons, a gentle dance where tradition was the music and the ancestors were the ever-watchful audience. The air was filled with the scent of damp earth and wood smoke, and the laughter of children echoed between the mud-thatched homes. At the very heart of Ile Oke, beneath the ancient, sprawling branches of a mighty Iroko tree, rested a sacred drum. Its name was a Yanife. Carved from a single piece of wood, its skin was stretched taut, silent for generations. The elders, their faces etched with the wisdom of years, would often gather near it, teaching the young ones its purpose. They would say, in hushed, reverent tones, that the drum was a guardian. It did not speak for celebration or for war. A Yanife spoke only when injustice, like a creeping vine, began to choke the soul of the village. One elder, his voice like the rustling of dry leaves, warned, when the drum speaks, it is because the ancestors are angry. Its silence was a sign of peace, its voice a harbinger of trouble. Among the villagers lived a young farmer named Ade. He was a man of simple means, his hands calloused from tilling the soil, his back strong from carrying yams. He owned little more than the clothes he wore, and a small patch of cassava farm passed down from his father. But Ade was rich in a way that couldn't be counted in cowries. He was honest, his heart as clear as a stream after the rain. He believed that the earth was a patient teacher, and that steady, honest work would always yield a greater harvest than any shortcut. As he worked his land, he would often whisper to the soil, "The land never forgets good hands," but not everyone in Ile Oke shared Ade's quiet wisdom. Chief Balogun was a man whose heart beat to the rhythm of clinking gold. He was large in stature and even larger in ambition, his compound overflowing with fine cloths, plump goats, and servants who scurried at his every command. He saw tradition not as a guide, but as a chain holding him back from greater wealth. He would often laugh at the old ways, claiming the ancestors were just stories to scare children. Gold answers faster than prayers, he would boast to his friends, his laughter booming across the village square. He took what he wanted, seizing land from weaker families and believing his wealth made him untouchable. One night, a strange wind swept through Ile Oke. It wasn't the gentle breeze of the evening, but a cold, sharp gust that made the palm fronds whisper nervously. And then, a sound broke the stillness, boom, ba-boom, boom. It was deep, resonant, and seemed to come from the very center of the village. The talking drum, a Yanife, was beating on its own. Its voice, layered with an unnatural echo, seemed to carry a message across the sleeping village: return. What is not yours? Lights flickered on in the huts. People emerged, their faces a mixture of fear and awe. Whispers spread like fire through dry grass. The drum has spoken. The ancestors are awake. The news reached Chief Balogun. He sat in his compound, sipping palm wine from a polished calabash. His friends looked at him with worried eyes, but the chief only scoffed. He threw back his head and laughed, a hollow sound that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Old myths and a piece of wood cannot stop me," he declared, slamming his cup down. He believed his power was absolute, his wealth a shield against any spiritual threat. But pride is a thick cloth that covers the ears, and while he celebrated his own might, the shadow of danger crept ever closer, unseen and unheard by him alone. A few days later, Ade went to his farm at sunrise, his hoe resting on his shoulder. He stopped dead in his tracks. New fences had been erected, crude and aggressive, enclosing the land his family had worked for generations. His cassava plants had been uprooted, tossed aside like weeds. Standing guard were two of Chief Balogun's men. Despair washed over Ade. "This land belonged to my father, and his father before him," he stammered, his voice choked with disbelief. The men just sneered. Chief Balogun had claimed the land as his own, expanding his already vast holdings without a shred of remorse. Ade was left with nothing but the dust on his feet. Heartbroken but not defeated, Ade went to seek justice. He walked to the Iroko tree and knelt before the council of elders, his head bowed low. He explained what had happened, his voice steady and clear, filled not with anger, but with a deep, sorrowful plea for what was right. "I do not ask for wealth or for vengeance," he said, his eyes meeting the gaze of the oldest elder. "I ask only for truth." The elders listened, their faces grim. They knew Chief Balogun's power and his contempt for their authority. The lead elder placed a hand on Ade's shoulder. "We will speak to the chief," he promised, "but know this, young one. If men fail, the ancestors will always judge." The warning from the elders fell on deaf ears, and so the drum spoke again. This time, its beat was not a whisper, but a roar, a thunderous rhythm that shook the very ground. Boom, 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 and with its voice, a strange curse began to fall upon Chief Balagan. The vibrant green leaves on his new crops turned yellow and withered overnight. His prized cattle, once fat and content, grew sick and scattered from their pens, disappearing into the bush. The wealth he had hoarded with such ferocity began to drain away like water through a sieve. The curse was slow but relentless, a creeping sickness on everything he owned. One night, exhausted and terrified, Chief Balagan fell into a restless sleep. In his dreams, he found himself standing in a vast, empty field under a moonless sky. Figures dressed in pure white robes emerged from the darkness, their faces obscured, but their presence immense and powerful. They were the ancestors. They circled him slowly, their silence more frightening than any shout. One of them stepped forward, and a voice echoed not in the air, but inside the chief's own mind. "Return what you stole," it commanded, cold and final. "Return what you stole, or you will lose everything." He awoke in a cold sweat, the dream voice still ringing in his ears. The slow, relentless beat of a Yanife pulsed from the village center, a constant, terrifying heartbeat. The chief's arrogance finally shattered, replaced by a raw, primal fear. He scrambled from his bed and ran to the village square, his fine robes trailing in the dust. The villagers were already gathered, drawn by the incessant drumming. He fell to his knees before the sacred drum, tears streaming down his face. "I was blind," he wailed, his voice cracking. "Blinded by greed, I stole from aid. I dishonored the ancestors. I beg for forgiveness." His confession hung in the air, and for the first time in days, the drum fell silent. With the truth revealed, a sense of order began to return. The elders decreed that the stolen land must be given back to aid immediately. Chief Balagan, humbled and broken, did as he was told. The moment aid stepped back onto his soil, a change began. A gentle rain fell, washing the dust from the thirsty ground. Within weeks, the withered cassava plants he had replanted grew strong and green, healthier than ever before. Justice had restored balance, and it felt as though the land itself was taking a deep, contented breath. Aid did not gloat or seek revenge. Instead, he was honored by the village for his integrity and patience. With his bountiful harvest, he shared his food with those in need, including the now impoverished family of Chief Balagan. He became a respected voice in the community, his simple wisdom sought by many. The old elder smiled as he watched Aid teaching children how to plant yams. "You see," he told them, "a clean heart is always richer than a mountain of gold." With peace and justice reigning once more, the talking drum, a Yanife, remained silent. Its purpose was fulfilled. It stood guard beneath the Ile Oke tree, a quiet monument to the day the ancestors spoke to protect the innocent. Harmony returned to Ile Oke, the rhythm of life fell back into its gentle, steady beat, and the ancestors, their anger soothed, rested once more. And so, even today, Nigerian elders will tell this story to the young ones gathered at their feet as the sun sets. They pass on the wisdom of Ile Oke, reminding everyone of the truth that endures through time. He who steals from the land, steals from his own future, because some truths are woven into the very fabric of the earth, and greed will always, eventually, destroy itself. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.